Assalamu alaikum and welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the News. I'm ATIQ HUSSAIN. Of course, as you know, each night on this particular program, we discuss the leading current affairs topics of the day. Tonight, we have four very important topics that we will discuss on the program. Firstly, Fawad Chaudhry is to visit the province of Sindh to gather support for the anti-Pakistan People's Party move. As you know, the Pakistan People's Party leadership is in trouble right now. That's putting it mildly, I think. The National Accountability Bureau seems to be now targeting the PPP, including Asif Ali Zardari. Fawad Chaudhry is going to visit Sindh to, as I said, gather support for the anti-People's Party move. Let's see how much success he meets there. We'll talk about that. What are his chances of success during the visit? Then we'll talk about the stock market. The stocks plunged 687 points amid political noise this week. The stock market, of course, we've discussed it several times on this program, is going through a tumultuous time. The stock market, of course, is facing uncertainty. There's a lack of clarity as far as the Pakistan government's economic decisions are concerned. Whether it'll go to the IMF or not, people are constantly second guessing what the government would do in the situation, and that, of course, is bad news for the stock market. And the stock market, of course, is reacting accordingly. We'll talk about that. Shehbaz Senior has resigned as the General Secretary of the Pakistan Hockey Federation. Pakistan hockey, of course, is going through a turbulent time, going through a tough time. We all remember the times, certainly I do, when Pakistan was a dominant force in international hockey. No more. Pakistan finished 12th in the recent World Cup that was held in Bhubaneswar, India, which was won by Belgium, 12th out of 16 countries. That was unimaginable, unthinkable back in up until the 1990s, but it's happening. Pakistan hockey really has declined to a point that is absolutely disappointing and frustrating for hockey enthusiasts in this country. Then internationally, Moscow and Ankara will coordinate military activities in Syria. As you know, Donald Trump has recently announced that he will withdraw the 2,000 US troops in Syria, basically creating a vacuum there, or vacating Syria primarily to Russia and Iran. Now, Russia and Turkey are to coordinate military activities in Syria. Turkey has concerns about the Kurdish population, the Kurdish forces in Syria. We'll talk about that. We'll discuss that as to what the future of Syria is and what the future of its president Bashar al-Assad is. But first, our top story tonight. Now, the political tensions between the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf-led federal government and the Pakistan People's Party-led provincial government of Sindh are increasing, with no sign that the situation will be ameliorated anytime soon. In a bid to strengthen the federal government's case and rhetoric against the Pakistan People's Party, the Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry will travel to Sindh soon to garner support from opposition parties and political workers. It has been reported that Fawad Chaudhry will discuss the situation regarding the fake bank accounts case with prominent leaders of Interior Sindh, including the Awami Tehreek chief Ayaz Latif Palijo and Grand Democratic Alliance leaders, who are also part, of course, of the PTI-led federal coalition. The explosive Joint Investigation Team report was recently submitted to the top court. Of course, we covered that on this news channel, and its findings have implicated the top Pakistan People's Party leaders, including the Pakistan People's Party co-chairman Asif Ali Zardari and the Chief Minister Murad Ali Shah, as well as the Omni Group of companies, in laundering massive amounts of money through fake bank accounts. After this report, the federal government has taken the onus to put 172 names on the exit control list, a move that has seemingly angered the Pakistan People's Party leadership, with broader calls of solidarity from other opposition parties as well. The Pakistan People's Party Secretary General Faratullah Babar even wrote a letter to the Minister of State for the Interior, Shahryar Khan Afridi, demanding the placement of names of 9 senior leaders of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and its allied parties. The list of names given by Mr. Faratullah Babar also includes the name of Prime Minister Imran Khan. The Supreme Court recently ordered that all records pertaining to the fake bank accounts be seized and presented before it in a timely manner. In his latest address in Kashmir district, Asif Ali Zardari has said that the establishment has not treated the public well and, of course, the political parties that brought development to Pakistan. The all-elusive establishment remains yet to be identified, but Asif Ali Zardari certainly has ramped up his rhetoric against the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf leadership, including the Prime Minister Imran Khan. Now, breaking his silence on the matter, the former Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz stalwart Chaudhry Nisar Ali Khan has raised questions over the procedure of accountability currently being carried out by the different agencies in the country. Nisar Ali Khan said that the government should understand that it could not function properly without an opposition, which includes the likes of Nawaz Sharif, Shehbaz Sharif and Asif Ali Zardari. Now, to further discuss the recent political developments, we are now joined by someone who monitors domestic events very closely. He is Dr. Rasool Bakhsh Rais, he's a professor of political science at the Lahore University of Management Sciences. He joins us on the telephone. Professor, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure to be with you.
Certainly good to have you on the program. Professor, it seems that Asif Ali Zardari is just trying to do some damage control by increasing his anti-Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf rhetoric. Of course, he has openly implied that the charges against him are all politically motivated, that the federal government and the National Accountability Bureau are in cahoots with each other, they're hand in glove with each other. Do you think this weakens the PPP leadership's argument that they have been falsely implicated in this fake bank accounts case?
Well, there is a GIT report which was leaked to the media. I don't know what was the reason for that becoming available to some of the anchors, which was presented to the entire nation.
Right.
And if we go by the GIT report and whatever we know about the details of these fake bank accounts, apparently they lead to some of the stalwarts of Pakistan People's Party and those who have been their front men and women. Again, this is a report, but then on the basis of report, references have to be filed, and then the cases have to be heard in the accountability court.
Right.
And of course, in this case, if the references are filed, then it is a NAB that will be pursuing it. The reaction of Pakistan People's Party leaders is obviously one of anger, frustration.
Right. Yeah.
And but it's usual. Whenever and whichever government has gone on corruption against Zardari or his colleagues, and I don't think that Zardari or People's Party are alone in this. Muslim League Noon or any other political leader or a bureaucrat, anyone who has been accused of corruption, he has always said that he is being framed, he is being victimized. There are two words that have got currency for the last 30, 40 years. What is the truth that has to be established before the court of law?
Right, right. Yeah, certainly it's a problem, and as you say, the Pakistan People's Party is expected to react, given our country's history, in the way that it is. Now, Chaudhry Nisar Ali Khan made a very valid point yesterday. He said that the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf should know that it cannot survive without some support from the opposition parties. Of course, now, it's certainly common sense that the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf led federal government cannot really do legislation, cannot really pass legislation in Parliament without opposition support. What do you think? I mean, is the federal government approaching this issue appropriately? Should they be more tactful about this? They are coming up with all sorts of bellicose statements against the opposition on a daily basis. Is this a wise policy, you think, on the part of the federal government?
Well, you have to think of one thing, that what is the manifesto of PTI, and what has been the central theme of their campaign for the last 20 years, that are against corruption. And when they have been talking about corruption, they talked about two parties, that is PMLN leadership and Pakistan People's Party and its leadership. So they have a mandate against corruption, there is no doubt in my mind. And the rise to where they are today, it is on the basis of accountability, fair and across the board accountability. This is what they said.
Right.
And the people voted for them. They are now in power. They have to implement their mandate.
Yeah,
they have to implement their manifesto.
Yeah, but Dr. Reyes, what I'm basically saying here is that the National Accountability Bureau is certainly going after people who it feels were corrupt and wants to investigate them. But why is the government, the federal government, coming up with such bellicose statements? Doesn't that simply reinforce what the opposition parties have been saying, that the federal government and NAB are hand in glove with each other on this? Why doesn't the federal government, simply concentrate on governance and let the National Accountability Bureau handle the corruption aspect? That's what I'm basically saying.
Exactly. I think they should not be making the statements that they are making.
Yeah.
Now, they are in government, but again, in order to be consistent with their manifesto and with their theme, they are saying that accountability will go on no matter whatever political resistance it is. And the opposition is showing that resistance in the form of not helping, not going with the PTA government when it comes to legislation. I think the choice between PTI, the choice for the PTI is between NRO, which they are saying that we are not going to give to anyone. That is saying that whoever has made whatever amount of money through corruption, we are not going to proceed against that. Or they have to then wait for their majority in the Senate.
Okay.
Even if they don't have majority in the Senate, I think they can do legislation in the form of ordinances. There is a facility in the the provision in the Constitution. But again, the problem here is, and this is what is going to be the defining thing in Pakistani politics, that opposition and the government are not going to reconcile. And now, again, this is a big challenge for the PTA government, that how in the face of this united opposition, it can do legislation, it can implement policies. And also it is a challenge for the opposition government, that how can they bring down the government.
Right.
So we are not really in a very happy situation.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's inexplicable to me why the government, instead of concentrating on issues of governance, would issue statements every day that is basically widening the gulf between it and the opposition. It just defies reason to me. Now, I wanted to ask you about Fawad Chaudhry's upcoming visit to Sindh to meet anti-People's Party leaders. Now, how do you see that move being received by the Pakistan People's Party leadership? That's going to create further tensions between the two, isn't it?
I think it is, if it is blessed by the top leadership of PTI, this kind of a mission, that to me looks sabotaging an elected government in Sindh. I believe that whatever the charges against Mr. Asif Zardari and his family and his parties, they are simply charges. And I don't think that it is a right move. It is going back to the same political situation we had in the 80s and 90s.
That's right, yeah.
I don't think that it is a good move.
Yeah, and it's going to create, it seems to me, further tensions between the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and certainly the Pakistan People's Party. Now, with looming tensions, Dr. Reyes, between the centre and the province of Sindh, how damaging is it to the whole structure of federalism in this country? Comment on that.
I think if they make a move to topple the government of Pakistan People's Party in Sindh, People's Party will play a Sindh nationalist card. Already they are playing it.
Yes.
But I think they will be coming very, very open on that, and that will become a federal provincial issue.
Right, and that is going to create further problems, it seems to me, further...
Certainly.
Yeah, further gulf between the ruling party and the Pakistan People's Party, which, whether you like it or not, I mean, it is a major opposition party.
It is a major opposition party, and it is an elected government. It is, when they have an elected assembly, an elected government, and I think within a constitutional framework, they have a right to go on.
Right. Briefly, I want one last question that I wanted to ask you. What do you think of the government's performance so far? I know they've only been in office about 5 months or so. Where do you think they stand as far as their performance is concerned? What do you think? Are they headed in the right direction? 5 months is not a long period of time to evaluate anyone, certainly. But are they headed in the right direction, you think?
Yeah, I think they have a direction. They have a program, but again, they have resistance from the bureaucracy as well, not only from the opposition and then the media. There are many challenges. If you want to reform Pakistan, it's not an easy task. And again, they have to show grit and they have to show determination. And if they do, I believe that they have something to do for Pakistan and they have a right direction and they have right leadership. Okay. But again, if they get into many problems, as it seems that they are getting into too many problems,
right,
then the challenges Pakistan and the country faces will be too many to really
right. It's going to be a rocky road if they keep behaving this way. Dr. Rais, thank you so much for joining us, sir. We look forward to talking to you again. That was Dr. Rasool Baksh Rais, certainly an eminent scholar. He is a professor at the Lahore University of Management Sciences, knows the country's affairs, political affairs very well, as you could tell. What I would say on the subject is basically a repetition of what I've just said. I can't emphasize this enough. That's why I have to say this again. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf-led federal government must concentrate on issues of governance and issues of governance alone. They don't need to behave like the opposition, which they are doing right now. On a daily basis, we see not only the Prime Minister, but federal ministers, Fawad Chaudhry in particular, but even other ministers, on a regular basis, on a virtually daily basis, issuing aggressive statements against the opposition. By issuing such statements, they're simply reinforcing the belief that many people have in this country, including, of course, all the opposition parties, that the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf-led federal government is acting in unison with the National Accountability Bureau, that the two are involved, the two are merged, the two are basically birds of a feather who are operating jointly. That is not the case. But by issuing such statements, that impression is being created, and that is going to lead to further turmoil in the country if it is not stopped. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf-led government needs to concentrate only on governance. That is their domain. They need to concentrate on that. Let the National Accountability Bureau handle issues of accountability. They are well equipped to do that. Let's now take a break. When we come back, we will have discussion and analysis on another leading current affairs topic of the day. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Glad you stayed with us. Stocks were battered badly yesterday at the Pakistan Stock Exchange as the Karachi Stock Exchange 100 index plunged into the intraday low of 935 points before some recovery to end the day at a loss of 687 points to close the week at 37,167 points. Now, the key reasons behind yesterday's fallout are being speculated over the current economic woes which the country faces. However, yesterday the plunge was aggravated further due to the latest confrontation between the government and the opposition over the latest corruption allegations, hence keeping the investors away from taking any potential positions regardless of the attractive valuations. Now, therefore, even though the markets seem to be taking the brunt of the faltering economy that continues to suffer from depleting foreign exchange reserves and ambiguity over a possible International Monetary Fund bailout, yet it was, ironically, the political front where temperatures rose as the federal cabinet decided to put 172 people, including prominently former President Asif Ali Zardari, on the exit control list for their alleged involvement in money laundering and fake bank accounts cases that brought panic to the index. Moreover, institutional selling across the board saw even the blue chip scripts such as Habib, United Bank, DG Khan, Lucky Cement and Engro Corporation all failing to impress. Other sectors contributing to the decline included the exploration and production sectors, decreasing by 141 points, while fertilizers and banks lost 138 and 87 points respectively. Even the cement sector lost 73 points, while oil and gas marketing companies too lost as many as 38 points. Now, to talk more about the poor performance of the Pakistan Stock Exchange, we are now joined by our guest, the Managing Director of Tangent, Mr. Fahim Sardar is on the telephone with us. Mr. Sardar, thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you just heard me sum up the Pakistan Stock Exchange. Now, is the current political environment the number one cause for the poor performance by the Pakistan Stock Exchange? Because this is giving a lot of investors a lot of jitters, because the stock exchange has not been performing well for some time now. The lack of clarity and the uncertainty is really hurting them, and of course hurting the investors who invest in the stock market. Comment on that. Is the current political environment the number one cause for such a poor performance, or is it something else? What's happening?
I would just like to add, I agree with you that predominantly it's, I think, the political environment, but I would just like to add one more point to what you very lucidly and rightly said. That is media management, because you see, we're getting a lot of information, and the market, for example, wants a lot of information. It itself gives out a lot of information. So right now, the kind of information that's coming in and going out, that itself, in my opinion, and according to my assessments, is causing a lot of issues. Now, you're absolutely right that there is a political, let's say, there's a political tempest at the moment. But
right.
we have to take stock of the information as well, because right now there's just too much information coming out, which is mixed up. It's supposed to be strategic, operational, and tactical. I've said this before on television as well. They're all mixed up. All these levels are mixed up, and that causes a lot of confusion. The irony of the whole situation is, although you very rightly summed up the economic scenarios and the sector specifics, the funny thing is that actually things are getting better. Our deficit has started to contract. Our funding that we needed was coming to par, but still there's so much negativity. So that we have to keep an even keel here.
Okay. Now the depleting, of course, as you know, the depleting foreign exchange reserves and the uncertainty over the International Monetary Fund bailout are both playing a role in the performance of the stock exchange. Just comment on the government's policy. Do you believe that this government has given the right policy direction to improve investor sentiments? Because this is the time when the government needs to put on its best face, to put its best foot forward, so that the investor can be encouraged and can invest in the stock market. Is the government doing that, you think? Because if they don't do that, the investor is going to get further depressed and stay away from the stock market.
I think you really hit the bullseye there. The point is, yes, you're right. The investors need to be taken care of, especially the portfolio investors. It is very clear that the government is not very concerned about the stock market. And I'm just going to be very blunt here, because we need to discuss this openly. The government is concerned about the stock market, but not terribly. Right now, the government is terribly concerned about other things. So that puts you slightly down on the priority list. I think the stock market would be somewhere down on the 5th or 6th point on the hit list, work hit list. So, I mean, right now they're more concerned about security. They're more concerned about international fixed investment coming into the country. They're more concerned about bilateral diplomacy, trilateral diplomacy, Afghanistan, Yevo. So I'm just, my shout out to everybody is that we just have to wait for the government to come forward and, as you said, take care of the investor.
Right, because otherwise the investor is simply going to get discouraged and stay away from the stock market. Now, if you were, Mr. Sardar, if you were advising the Prime Minister on the steps that the government needs to take to improve investor sentiment in order to improve the performance of the Pakistan Stock Exchange, what do you think he needs to do on a priority basis, on an urgent basis, so as to bolster the stock exchange and to bolster investor confidence? What would you suggest to him?
That's not $1 million question. I think it's $1 billion question. I think simply what they can do is they can keep the stock market in the loop when they talk, when they have to mention the stock market. I mean, we have 3 instances in the past 2 to 3 months where whenever the government started to give some attention to the stock market, public attention, the market started to rise. And I'm sure you'll back me up on that. Just to give you some facts and figures. When the government was talking to the stock exchange directly, early November, the daily volumes were 300 million shares per day. Now they've come down to approximately 150 to 130 million shares per day. So there's been a massive erosion of activity. That's primarily because the government is not focusing on stock exchange. They're not terribly bothered right now. So the first suggestion I would give is for whatever information the government gives out, the PM gives out, he should just talk about strategic aspects. He should not be talking about operational and tactical aspects. That's the job of the minister and the ministries. Number two, I would want him to just speak to the investing community and address them directly. And,
Okay.
And
All
there's
right.
a third thing which, once again, just a shout out, it's to immediately build a bridge between the banking and the capital market. There's a huge abyss between the two. We need to, the moment you build the bridge, you suddenly get more clients, you get more UINs, you get more investment, and suddenly you have more stability in the market.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Just three.
Okay, I got you on that. Now, even, we're not used to, I suppose, we're not used to seeing the banking and cement sectors performing so poorly as they have been lately. What's behind that? Because that does seem to be a worrisome trend, doesn't it?
What I've been able to understand and what I've been able to gather is that the government. Okay, I'll put it in this way. There are two things. One is sentiment. Second is fundamentals. Right now, the government is, the market is totally focused on sentiment. The fundamentals were pretty much the same. In fact, they're slightly improving over the past 1 month. But you can see that it's not sinking in. It's not sinking into the investor, to the person with the money. And it's important for us to be able to balance the two. Right now, the sentiment is negative. That's why I spoke about information regarding your previous question. If information is sequenced and brought out in a sequential manner, I've written a book about this, so it has a much more effective and helpful impact. Right now, if the cement sector and banking are doing poorly, it's because too much is happening and the information is not being managed properly, and people are just in a negative frame of mind.
Right. Okay. Now, another aspect that is of concern to people, has been for a long time now, is the level of investment in the country. Now, if the current political climate improves, both local and foreign investors, I suppose, would be keen to invest in Pakistan anytime soon. Is there any prospect of that? How do you see the FDI, the foreign direct investment, as well as investment in general, improving in Pakistan? Because unless we can improve on that, our economic picture simply cannot get better, especially the employment opportunities in the country, which are of great concern.
I agree, actually. And I'm really happy that you sort of spoke of local investors as well at the same time you said external investors, because I think both have to be addressed at the same time, not just one or the other. It is extremely important for Pakistan to mobilize its domestic idle cash. There's a lot of cash in Pakistan that just doesn't come onto the system, or which is on the system and which is not deployed into the, let's say, stock market or into new projects. As far as investments are concerned, we have public information that lots of big projects are coming Pakistan's way. So that's fine. But at the end of the day, that's a government-to-government negotiation. We still have to deal with the day-to-day investment activity, which is more domestic. Right now, it is extremely important that the government, SCTP now under new management, so they need to sit down and they need to chalk out a very simple strategy in which they start talking to the investor. We are now, I think, standing at 200,000 UINs, if my information is correct, which is appalling for a country that has a population of 220 million. We should have at least 5 to 15 million UINs, that is investors, for those who don't know. So, we have very basic problems which need to be very basically handled, and they need to be handled in a robust manner.
Okay. Now, obviously, the law and order situation, we have to see a distinct improvement there. The current political climate would have to improve. All these things would have to improve if we are to see more investment. Certainly got your point. Mr. Fahim Sardar, thank you so much for joining us. I would like to have you on the program again. Look forward to talking to you again. Thank you. That was Mr. Fahim Sardar, the Managing Director of Tangent. As he correctly pointed out, that the investment in the country is a particularly worrisome problem. It has been for a long time now. And of course, the reasons have been, one, the law and order situation in the country has been abysmal, as we all know. It has started to get better now, but still there are terrorist attacks. There are still attacks that are taking place, although less often than before, that would keep investors away from the country. Then, of course, the political climate continues to be tense. All these factors are severely impacting, adversely impacting our ability to attract investment, both foreign direct investment and domestic investment. If we do not address these issues, of course, the rocky ride for the current government is likely to continue. There's not much they'll be able to do about that. But I think the immediate concern, the immediate priority for the government, I suppose you can still say it's a new government because it hasn't quite been in office more than, say, about 5 months or so. The immediate priority for the government is to address the investor, as Mr. Sardar pointed out, is to address the investor, the small investor, including the small investor, to assure them that the current account deficit is going to come down, that the uncertainty is going to come down. We have to decide with the IMF as to exactly what the amount of our bailout package is going to be. The less the uncertainty, the more the clarity, and the more the government spends time on decreasing our current account deficit. There are encouraging signs, as Mr. Fahim Sardar pointed out, as far as the current account deficit is concerned, but it's still temporary. It needs to be long-term. It needs to be permanent. As long as these aspects are not addressed by the government, the investment in this country is not likely to go up, and that's the worrisome part. The government has to address these aspects successfully if we want to encourage investment in Pakistan, thus creating employment opportunities, which of course remains a severe problem for Pakistan. We'll now take a break. When we come back, we will discuss and analyze another leading current affairs topic of the day for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you right after the break. Good to have you back. Pakistan Hockey Federation Secretary Shehbaz Ahmed Senior resigned from his position yesterday, citing the government's alleged apathy towards the national sport, which he says has led to this dreadful decision. In his resignation letter, Shehbaz Senior mentioned that since the government and the Inter-Provincial Coordination Ministry had no time for hockey, he too couldn't spare any. The legendary former hockey player pointed out that compared to our neighboring country, India's 1 billion rupee hockey budget, Pakistan only gets a meager 3.5 million rupees annually. Shehbaz said that there was no infrastructure for hockey in the country and that the Pakistan Hockey Federation had no asset or a system in place for the generation of funds. He said that the government had been informed several times but to no avail, and even the Ministry of Inter-Provincial Coordination, he says, didn't cooperate even 1%, as he put it. Shehbaz Senior was even showing his visible frustration towards the decline of the sport, and he has been doing that ever since he took charge. After Pakistan's appalling performances at the Hockey World Cup in Bhubaneswar, the Pakistan Hockey Federation even formed a committee with former Olympians as members to investigate the failures. In a recent interview, Shehbaz Senior also said that players are not being paid on time, that they're not being fed the right nourishment that is required to compete at the international level. Shehbaz added that neither Hassan Sardar nor anyone else could bring any major change in the techniques of the players without having a proper system. Now, to further discuss the sports situation in the country, we have someone in the studio with us who keeps very close tabs on the state of sports affairs in the country. Mirza Iqbal Beg joins us. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Well, Shehbaz Senior, I want to start off right away with his situation. Now, he has resigned.
Yeah.
Now, how do you see his resignation coming just under a month after the end of the Hockey World Cup? What's going on? Is there some sort of a tempest that's brewing in the Pakistan Hockey Federation again?
Yeah, you are quite right. But the people were the former Olympian, ex-hockey players. They were all demanding for Shehbaz Senior's resignation, but he stuck to his position. He didn't resign. But after seeing the performance of Pakistan hockey team in the World Cup, when Pakistan, out of 16 teams, Pakistan came 12 in the World Cup. So it was quite pathetic performance from the Pakistani players. So the pressure built too much that Shehbaz had to resign. But it is not the solution of Pakistan's hockey, because Shehbaz's resignation was on the card. People were demanding. This year, 2018, proved to be a very, you can say, horrible year for Pakistan hockey, because Pakistan couldn't perform in the top 4 international hockey tournaments. Firstly, they participated in the Commonwealth game, they didn't do well. Then they participated in the Champions Trophy hockey tournament, they came 6th. Then they went to the Asian Games where they got 4th position, and now in the World Cup they got 12th position. So Pakistan hockey, which was already on decline under the regime of Shehbaz Senior, it went down and down and down, and the people were demanding that Mr. Shehbaz should resign. But the resignation of PHF President Khalid Sajjad Khokhar hasn't come yet. People are expecting, because the whole team will have to go, because people were looking after all the affairs of Pakistan hockey, right, and they were actually favoring their favorite, they were favoring their friends. So demand is quite high.
So what is going on with Shehbaz Senior? Did he have any complaints regarding the Pakistan Hockey Federation, or did the federation was this federation not satisfied with his performance?
Actually, after his resignation, Shehbaz blamed government, that government didn't take any sort of interest, they didn't provide them the fund, although they were provided 9.5 million rupees by the government and 1 million rupees by the Sindh government. So more than a crore rupees they got from the government, from the help, in terms of money, and they didn't produce any sort of player. They had to depend on the senior players which were playing hockey league outside Pakistan, and they used to come. They didn't bother to attend the training camps of Pakistan hockey team. They just used to come to Pakistan after playing their league, because they know that the daily allowance is not given by Pakistan Hockey Federation. They were in dire state. Where that money has gone? I think so. People are saying that Pakistan Hockey Federation's account should be audited. Forensic report should come in front of it, in front of the people, so that people will be able to know where that money has gone.
Okay, Shehbaz Senior is charging that the government is apathetic towards the sport of hockey. He's saying that they have lost interest, they are not concentrating on hockey. Is that the reason?
No, he's just blaming. He just want to save his face, because he is afraid of that if the NAB starts inquiry against the Pakistan Hockey Federation's all the funds, then definitely Shehbaz will be there. So he realizes it. So he's putting the pressure on the government, Atiq Saab, that government didn't do something for Pakistan hockey, but he's the main culprit, as you know, because Khalid Sajjad Khokhar gave full backing to Shehbaz Senior, and he was the man who was playing all the shots. Shehbaz Senior, he was a brilliant player, and when he was playing for Pakistan under his captainship, Pakistan won 1994 Hockey World Cup in Sydney.
That's right.
But then, as an administrator, he flopped badly.
So, as an administrator, he is bad, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
He is not good enough to be an administrator in the Pakistan Hockey
It's not necessary that a player who is a world-class hockey player can be a good administrator. That proved in Shehbaz's case.
Right. Now, he's also blaming the Interprovincial Coordination Committee for the decline.
Ministry,
I'm sorry. The Interprovincial Coordination Ministry. He's blaming that ministry as well for the decline in hockey. The same thing there, that he's just scapegoating them?
He's just scapegoating them, because after the 18th Amendment, the Sports Ministry was dissolved, and all the 4 provinces, they had a sports minister, and they were supervised by Inter-Provincial Coordination Ministry, and Dr. Fahmida Mirza is the minister of that ministry, and Shehbaz and PHF other officials tried their best to get funds before the World Cup, but the government didn't have faith on them. They didn't issue the funds. So that is the main reason now he's blaming for his resignation to the government and the Inter-Provincial Coordination Ministry.
Oh, okay. So the fault lies with Shehbaz Senior himself. Now, it's really very frustrating for the hockey enthusiasts in this country to see the decline of hockey. As you know, Pakistan, up until 1994, was dominant in world hockey. Now, you seem to suggest that it's politics in the Pakistan Hockey Federation that has caused the decline in Pakistan hockey. Is that the main reason?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. You are dot right. The politics has ruined Pakistan hockey. In 1960, we won the Rome Olympics.
Right.
In 1968, we won the Mexico Olympics. And last time we won Los Angeles Olympics in 1984. When the first World Cup was played in 1971 in Spain, Pakistan won that World Cup.
Right.
And then Pakistan won the World Cup in 1978. 1982 and then in 1994.
Right. Yeah,
The more World Cup won by any team in the world, Pakistan won 4 World Cup. But where the hockey has gone, the politics has entered when Asif Bajwa was made the secretary of Pakistan Hockey Federation, when People's Party's government came and Mr. Khwaja Asif, who was minister of that time, so he supported Asif Bajwa because he lives in Sialkot. He supported him to actually get into the Pakistan Hockey Federation.
So all this is going on.
Yeah, that is the main thing. He is his neighbor, that is the main reason they had got a very good connection. And Asif Bajwa actually laid the campaign of Khwaja Asif during the elections of 2008, and he rewarded him by making him the secretary of Pakistan.
This is atrocious. I mean,
Yes.
this shouldn't be going on at all.
Yeah.
But the politics, Iqbal Sahab, it existed even when Pakistan was winning the World Cups, right? I mean, politics always existed in Pakistan.
No. Politics actually started in late 90s. Firstly, the politics started before the Atlanta Olympics in 1996 when Shehbaz Ahmed Sr. led the revolt against Colonel retired Mudassir Asghar, and at that time the coach was Manzoorul Hassan Sr. And after that, Pakistan hockey couldn't come up at the ladder, That was the main reason. And beside that, when the political government came into the power, they appointed their own man. Akhtar Rasool is the example of that. He was made the president of Pakistan Hockey Federation. He belonged to Muslim League Noon, and Qasim Zia is another example. He belonged to Pakistan People's Party. He was MP at that time, and he was actually named as the president of Pakistan Hockey Federation. So political appointments has also ruined Pakistan hockey.
Okay. Now, Dr. Fahmida Riaz, as you know.
Fahmida Mirza.
I'm sorry, Dr. Fahmida Mirza.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. Dr. Fahmida Mirza, the former legislator, of course, and with the Grand Democratic Alliance.
Yeah.
She's allied with the government. Now, she has said that Imran Khan has promised to revive hockey.
Yeah.
Is Imran doing anything so far? Has he done anything so far to revive Pakistan hockey?
It looks, people are expecting a lot from Imran Khan in hockey and in cricket, because hockey is at decline, and Imran didn't actually compromise when the team was going for the World Cup. They put a lot of pressure on him to release the fund, and before that the interim government, they also refused to release the fund to Pakistan Hockey Federation because they knew that the fund is not going to spend for the promotion of hockey, and that is the main reason. Imran is quite firm on that they won't be issuing them the funds. They said that until and unless Pakistan hockey is not revived, until and unless a new setup is not brought into the Pakistan hockey, we can't go ahead.
Okay, now part of the revival process is, as the government itself had promised, to install more AstroTurfs in the country. Where do we stand there? Have they begun doing that? Is it on the horizon? What's going on here?
ATIQ sahab, this government came in August, 18th August, when Imran Khan took oath as the Prime Minister of Pakistan. They are trying actually, when the sports ministry was dissolved, according to 18th Amendment, then the sports actually started to deteriorate. At one time in 1994, we were the champion of 4 sports: cricket, hockey, squash and snooker. And now we are going down and down. That is the main reason that sports ministry has been dissolved, and inter-provincial coordination ministry, they are not dealing with the people. Fahmida Mirza, sorry to say that she doesn't know more about sports. So the people who know the art, how to convince the minister, so they are revolving around her. That is the main reason.
Oh, that's the main reason, I suppose, because she herself obviously can't be expected to know that much about hockey. Now, there were plans for a Pakistan Super League type hockey league in the country. Now, that would help immensely because that would bring the domestic hockey talent to the fore. Where do we stand there?
But the sponsors, ATIQ sahab, they are not trusting on Pakistan Hockey Federation. They know that this money won't be going to the proper channel, towards the proper channel, because very branded company, they came to help Pakistan Hockey Federation before the World Cup, and they said that we are not going to give you the money. You tell what you need. We are going to purchase it ourselves. So it is the level of trust you can judge from.
So there's virtually no trust.
No trust,
and that is the core issue. That's the core issue.
That is the main problem, because the accounts are not audited. That is the main reason, and people are blaming them that they are spending that money on the joy trips, and that is the main reason no one is going to trust on them.
So that means the Pakistan Super League style hockey league is going to be delayed once again.
Yeah, once again. You are absolutely
right. And the future is very uncertain, as you put it.
Everyone is talking about that. It's really very pathetic, and it's really very disappointing from Pakistan's hockey, who ruled hockey for 3 or 4 decades.
I tell you, I can't tell you how dispiriting and how deflating it is for the Pakistan hockey enthusiast today.
It is our national game.
This is our national sport. It's not cricket. That's our national.
Yeah, it's hockey is our national
game. But the way we have declined, I mean, 12th out of 16 in the Hockey World Cup at one time was unthinkable and unimaginable. But now we're seeing that. It's just frustrating for the hockey enthusiasts. Finally, briefly, if you will, we always compare cricket and hockey. Obviously, there are many people who are not pleased with the fact that cricket gets a lot of funding, hockey doesn't. Exactly how much is the funding that is allocated to hockey in percentage terms as compared to cricket? How much do we concentrate on hockey as compared to cricket?
The government don't give any single penny to cricket because the cricket board earns its money itself, you know.
That's right.
But in hockey, Pakistan Sports Board give them the amount 3.5 million. That is the peanut for a year to Pakistan Hockey Federation.
3.5 million rupees.
Yeah. But beside that, the Hockey Federation have got so many sponsors, you know, those sponsors who have sponsored their hockey kits and something else. So they generate the amount by themselves also. So it comes and the government give them the amount, extra amount. Beside that, that is the 3.5 million is the amount which is given by the Pakistan Sports Board.
Right.
But the government give them millions of rupees. Where those rupees go?
Okay, so the money is not the problem.
Yeah, money
You're
is
saying
not.
the money is there.
Money is there, but the way they are spending that money, that is really pathetic, you know.
Okay, that's the problem.
Yeah,
it's not that inadequate funds is not the problem.
No.
The spending, what percentage do we spend on hockey as compared to cricket?
More actually on hockey. In cricket, you can't compare hockey with cricket, you know. Hockey is not a professional game.
But cricket is
a professional game.
Right,
so that is the main reason you can't compare it. But in hockey, the situation tells us that the men at the helm of affairs are not honest. They are not spending the money at the right place. And that is the main reason everyone is asking.
Right, so you're saying whatever the percentage is, that is not the problem. That is not the issue.
Yeah,
the problem is the politics and the maladministration that exists.
You are absolutely right. You are not right.
Thank you so much for joining us. Always good to have you in the studio and certainly look forward to talking to you again. That was, of course, Mirza Iqbal Beg, senior sports journalist, commenting on Pakistan hockey. All the hockey enthusiasts in this country, and there are, of course, innumerable hockey enthusiasts in the country, we all hope that Pakistan can regain its past glory. Because a 12th place finish in the Hockey World Cup was unheard of at one time, but it's happening now. Obviously, we want Pakistan hockey to be rejuvenated and to gain the stature that it had back until 1994. Of course, we hope and pray that the Pakistan Hockey Federation can iron things out and we regain our days of hockey glory. At the moment, it doesn't look as if that's going to happen in the foreseeable future. I regret to say that, but hope springs eternal, of course, and we always hope that Pakistan hockey can regain the stature that it used to have at one time. That's all the time we have for this particular edition of Beyond the News. Thank you so much for being with us. Of course, we'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place, for yet another edition of the program. Until then, on behalf of our team here at Beyond the News, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow night.